All right. Hello, good morning, good evening, and good night. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic because today we're going to be talking about the overall markets and some things that I'm currently doing with my stock portfolio in order to prepare for some news up ahead. So, today, let's just dive into it. Basically, what I want to talk about is I want to talk about the recent price action that we're seeing within the market. And the reason being is because we're at an interesting time where the market's kind of deciding whether it wants to continue upwards or trend down. Isn't that really the story of the market all the time? Well, this is why I want to bring this to your attention. We're approaching a pretty important resistance level right here. And so what I want to talk about is leading up to this resistance, we had a gap up yesterday. We had a great day in the market yesterday with the market trending up about 1.5%. That alone was a pretty positive move. But when we look at the bigger picture, we've seen a slowdown today, which is to be expected as we approach this resistance. And what I want to talk about is this resistance just kind of a little bit of a barrier before we shoot up once again, or could this potentially be a track to a potential recession or some kind of downtrend? I want to talk about all that. I want to talk about tariffs and kind of the uncertainty around that. And then I want to talk about what I'm doing because I recently opened up a new account on Questrade, and I want to talk about what I'll be buying in that account. So if that does sound good, we're currently up to 7,715 subscribers, 134 subscribers in the past 28 days. So subscribe if you're interested in anything high yielding or, stock market investing, because that's what we do. So the reason why you guys clicked on this video today is because I want to share with you guys my thoughts about what's going on with the market. We're at a pretty interesting time period where we rebounded off of a little bit of a low. For the past 3 days, we've been bullish or been going to the bullish direction. But the thing is, we're kind of hitting a slower period. And I'm in my own personal opinion, I'm very cautious. And the reason being is because we still have a lot of uncertainty with Trump's tariffs, which I actually searched up. What is going on with the tariffs? What's imposed and what does it look like? So it looks like there's a 25% tariff on imports of steel and aluminum from all countries, which took effect on March 12th. We have tariffs on the European Union, including a 50% duty on American whiskey, prompted by a Trump tariff threat, which was 200% tariff on European spirits. I'm not necessarily sure if that's in effect. I understand, because I'm living in Canada, that there was a potential 25% tariff on most Canadian goods going into the U.S. It did mention that on Tuesday, March 4th, 2 days later, after Tuesday, March 4th, that the U.S. would pause these tariffs, but it's very confusing. This is, I think, why there's a lot of hesitation in the market and a lot of uncertainties, because when I'm going through a lot of these tariff suggestions and kind of reading articles, it's very unclear what's in effect and what is not in effect and what is paused. And I feel like this is a part of the game plan of President Donald Trump. I've read his book, The Art of the Deal, and basically he's going to use as much leverage as possible when doing these deals. He's going to impose as much fear as possible, and he's going to try and persuade countries like Canada, for example, to his direction and show them the worst possible scenarios for them in order to persuade them to his direction. Now, I'm not trying to get political by any means, but what do I mean by this? I mean that he's going to impose fear on the markets. And April 2nd is a big date, because April 2nd is where Trump mentions he will either impose secondary tariffs or he will put a pause or potentially lift tariffs. So April 2nd is a big date. Leading up to then, we're going to see potentially a little bit of a up and down movement till then. So I won't be buying anything in the markets till that point. But it's very interesting to see. I currently think that we're approaching some kind of a resistance. And so I do think the market could potentially head down from here. With all that being said, what have I done? I've opened up a new TFSA. And the reason why I did this is because it's important. A TFSA for Canadians is a tax sheltered account. So whether you live in Canada or whether you're in the United States or whether you're overseas, it's important to potentially max out your tax-free accounts if you have smaller account balances. And in general, it's just a great idea to do this to reduce your taxes, and then at the same time take advantage of tax-free gains. And the reason why I'm doing this now is because in a TFSA, you are limited to how much you can contribute to your portfolio. And what I'm going to be doing with this is I'll be buying the Beta Pro S&P 500 slash TSX 60 2 times daily bull. This is kind of the biggest leveraged ETF that I could find for the Toronto Stock Exchange. It's a 2 times bull on the TSX top 60 biggest companies. Now, I couldn't find the TSX 60, but what I could find was the TSX Composite, which is the Toronto Stock Exchange, kind of S&P 500, something like that. But the reason why I'm buying this is because I want to produce as much gains as possible from this tax sheltered account due to the fact that it does limit me on my contributions. Now, my contribution limit should be something within like $20,000 to $30,000, something crazy like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold off as long as possible in buying CNDU.TO, which is the ticker symbol, and I'm going to wait till the market retracts. This TFSA is only going to be used when the market is at a downturn. Due to contribution limits, I don't want to be putting my money in when the market's at an all-time high. I could put my money into my margin account or my taxable cash account, because with those, there's no contribution limit. But with the TFSA, I need to be buying when the market is down. I need to get an amazing price return so that I can grow the limited capital that I have tax-free. So that's my plan. Of course, I've kind of looked into this ETF a little bit. I could do a full review. If there's any Canadians on my channel, please mention yourselves in the comments so I can kind of get back to you and we can work together. But I've checked out CNDU. I think it's pretty cool. Give it a check yourself. Of course, don't blindly follow someone on YouTube. But these are the 60 companies in which it will look to produce a 200% daily return on, which is what this leverage ETF does. And there's some amazing companies in here, such as Shopify, such as TELUS, TD Bank. We have Waste Management. There's a bunch of amazing Canadian companies, which is kind of cool. It kind of gives a little bit of diversification out of US markets, but Canada and US markets, they're pretty tied together, is what I would say. But that's kind of my whole thinking leading up to this. I think we're hitting some kind of resistance point. I would expect maybe either the market's going to pull through and it's going to go strong, or it's going to hit this and it's going to go back to a couple more down days. This is a deciding factor whether we are seeing a downtrend or this is just a little blip in the market, because as of right now, it is a little blip in the market, just like we've seen in 2022, just like we've seen here in 2023, the late 2023. But if we continue further and pass this downtrend down here, then we could be headed into a bear market and a potential recession. So that's something important to keep track of. And I will do my best to keep track of it for you guys. So stay tuned, do your own investing as well, and do your own research. But I will hopefully try and help along the way with anything that I can. This is not guidance, it's not information, it's entertainment, but I'm sharing my thoughts and opinions with you. So if that does sound good, we're currently up to 7,715 subscribers. Also, go to the description of our videos. There will be a Questrade link in those videos. Use my code for $50 in your account. You'll get $50 to me. You'll get $50 to yourself. If you're thinking about opening up a Questrade account, then use this referral code and help yourselves out. So if that does sound good, please do stick around to the next video. I hope to see you guys then. And yeah, please do take care until next time.